what was controversial a year ago is normal today. Okay, folks, I'm just going to share my screen real quick because this isn't really something that's talked about. It's like, this news story on the other side of the world. Why does anyone give a damn about it? Well, let's have a look here, folks. Right, I'm going to zoom in real quick, and which it is courtesy of Smash. You know, since he's here, we might as well source him. Quote: "Who TF chucks spears?" And my mentor was kind enough to respond, "Does he have to say?"
Prophetic moment in history, ladies and gents, because some of you know the story, some of you don't know the story, but this is prophetic.
Well, he was ahead of the curve.
I can't really elaborate.
Absolutely. This was Nostradamus at its finest.
I can't really elaborate too much because our predecessor is, it doesn't exist anymore, but our predecessor was a visionary and a great person. And without him, none of this would be possible. Voldemort and all of these network shows are his Horcruxes. But this is courtesy of Sky News Australia. Quote, "A spear has been allegedly," because they have to say that because of the Aboriginal people, "allegedly thrown at officers in a Soward arrest in Sydney's southwest. As police reveal, one young officer is recovering in hospital after allegedly being stabbed during an altercation." Don't you mean speared?
Mm-hmm. Impaled.
Yeah, that would be a
penetrated
hit with the sharp, pointy object.
Penetrated. Pause.
But the reason I bring this up, folks, right, is because I did find it very interesting. You know, it's been over a year since that whole Speargate controversy happened. I was just a passionate viewer, an outsider looking in, and I've always been of the mindset that thin skin doesn't win the mind, right? You got to have thick skin to do what we do. I just find it very intriguing, however, that the precedent has been set where if a large group of people, if an angry mob find a dark joke offensive, then they can ruin your career both in front of and behind the camera. And the reason I bring this up, speaking of someone who could potentially ruin his reputation, David Jaffe, ladies and gentlemen, recently made a dark joke about someone's grave with an Xbox controller.
To ruin a reputation, you have to have one to begin with. So,
that's a mic drop moment.
Shot
right
fired
there.
or spear chucked? Which one?
Oh,
spear chucked.
But the controller was on the Xbox controller was on the grave, and David Jaffe made it clear in an X post, this is an Xbox. Okay, I'll try to find the source directly. But Helzo, what do you make of that parallel in controversies?
Well, it's the same old thing. It's okay when one side do it. It's not okay when another side do it. So it's okay it's not okay for someone to make a spear joke, even though it turned out to be true a year or so later. But someone like David Jaffe can apparently make these jokes, and it's okay because he thinks, in my opinion, he still believes that he's on the right side of everything, and he has some power to dictate what is offensive and whatnot. And this is something that I really truly despise in a lot of people, especially from his surroundings, that they can say what they can try to mandate what you can say and what you cannot say, but nobody can do that to them. Nobody. You cannot go and say, okay, so this is not okay, but for you this is okay. Yeah, there is it.
Absolute double standard.
It's such a double standard. It's such a double standard. It's such a dishonest behavior, and it's even enhanced because he's always getting very angry, very disgruntled and stuff like that. Oh, but they're saying all these horrible things. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? And what is he saying? And then he makes that joke, which, let's be honest, in a more normal world, like in a more friendly world, this could have been what he later tried to explain that it's just a dumb joke. Yeah, you could have probably passed that on, but in that.
No. I'd step in and say, in this world, he could do that, except for he is someone who his past precedes him, and he's someone that takes offense to trans jokes and draws lines where you're allowed to make humor and where you're not, and then does something like this, and it's like, well, how is this fucking okay? But the other stuff isn't.
Yeah.
Who made David Jaffe the moral arbiter of this shit? So all of his stances fall flat now, because if he does something like this, it's like, so what the fuck do you stand for? So you do want to be edgy only when it's acceptable edgy for David Jaffe.
I mean,
here's the posting question. I always like giving visual examples, folks, because many creators can say things and
bought me
not
my
bring
first
things
Xbox,
up, which is perfectly fine. But it's there in black and white. Yes, Jaffe Cake did, I believe, delete it and then double down by making a statement on X, trying to fuel the fires of the controversy. But I do think it's very interesting that when someone on our side of the aisle who has a history of being controversial says something controversial, that's potentially career-ending. But when one of the opposition say something particularly controversial, who doesn't really have much of a recent history of doing it, okay, maybe 20 years ago when Jaffe had a reputation, he did, but it just goes to show the two-faced nature of the opposition. Jose, what do you make of all this?
Well, the thing that bothers me about this is when you think about it, how many people on their side of the cultural aisle lost their channels or got canceled or got removed for derogatory comments about Charlie Kirk post the death of Charlie Kirk. I mean, even on Halloween, we saw these people posting pictures of costumes of what happened to the man. Not a peep. But they'll get mad at you if you dress like a Native American. If you wear a costume like that on Halloween. It's that whole double standard that they have. They can say whatever they want about whoever they want. They can be as rude as they want. They can be as derogatory as they want because they have the correct, sanitized opinions on the culture that everybody else does. And anybody who questions that, the minute you question that, you're out. We can't allow you to make any jokes or comments on anything, because we're just going to find it offensive because we don't like you. We don't like what you say. We don't like what you represent. We don't like your content. And we're just going to use any means necessary to get you out of here. And that's unfortunately the textbook playbook that these people adhere to.
Yep. It's very sad. It's very unfortunate. All you have to do, folks, is just make a bad joke once on our side, and they will tear you to pieces, right? But someone like Jaffe, you can say this, you can double down on it. Yep, he'll get plenty of criticism on X, but I'm sure he won't be wiped out because of it. Go ahead, Helzo.